May. She was there and part of the original Deathstar crew. So we're really looking forward to hearing her journey about cannabis and how the Death Star came about, because it is a super popular Ohio strain and something that everybody's really interested in learning about. I do want to say just real quick that Gabby is not feeling well today, so we all just want to send Gabby all our love and good wishes that he feels better real soon. And that way, maybe we'll have another Ohio Weed Day where we can get Gabby in here with Miss Maggie May. But for now, we want to get started, and we want to just start. Usually, Maggie, we just ask we start with the who and the when. So tell us just who you are and when you got started in cannabis.
Oh, I'm Miss Maggie May, and I got started in cannabis in 98. I met a cool guy walking down the street in Columbus with some great cannabis, and he started me off with a street light, 400-watt street light, and the perps, and I never stopped. Never stopped. I love cannabis.
Yeah.
And we just the who, the what, and the where. You guys asked me a lot of questions because I'm not exactly sure where to start.
Okay. Yeah. So you were saying you got started with a street light. I think that's really, really common back then, because we didn't have the grow shops we could run around and just get all of our supplies from. When I got started originally, we had a metal halide that was like a billboard lamp, So you said you met a guy, so he helped you get going, helped you set up a grow and stuff.
Yeah,
and you were in Columbus.
Yes, he was my first mentor. We're still great friends today. And yeah, it was the perps, and they were seeds. And soon after that, I got the bubble gum.
Very cool. Did you say the perps? Is that the first one? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the bubble gum.
A lot of people don't realize that like most 90s growth stories have a lot of like the hardware store, because a lot of parts of the country didn't really have grow stores, right? And they didn't really have like all the accoutrements and stuff like that go along with it. So, and it was also in a lot of places scary or shady in some instances to go into those kind of stores. You felt like they were watched. So
sorry.
I
also got on the Han VHS. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Han. He made VHS videos and taught me, how to clone and stuff like that. They were hard to get.
Wow. There were VHS videos about how to clone?
Well, yeah, his name was Han, and High Times put him out. But there were a couple. He would wear a mask and gloves and a suit and stuff,
right on.
Yeah.
That's cool. I haven't ever heard of those. What about you, Notso?
They're old.
Right on.
Yeah, I mean, if you started in 98, that was, I think, I can't remember correctly, but I think over like the first weed forums probably started a year later, and the internet was still new and very slow. And so people have a hard time now with how connected we all are, like realizing how limited information flow was, and how hard it was to even get verifiable information on like what to do. There was a lot of like, you were just told something by an older person and you believed it like it was like, from the Bible or something. It was like, the prophet from the mount told you something and you might stick with it. And it might be a number of years before you realize that was either really right on or that was really like not what you should be doing either. Yeah, so it was kind of like, that's most people's introduction, is like, you got introduced to it by someone, and then you kind of learned what they were willing to teach you.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was very experimental.
I mean, the
Just
internet
because.
now, I looked at Deathstar last night, and the stories are, there's so many that are all completely different and not like more than half aren't even close to true. So now there's
Yeah.
so much information. That even if you look up a recipe, like for a chili or something, it's so overwhelming. And they're all so different. But
Yeah.
I can clear up.
That's why we got you on here. We got real deal old growers on here that have the stories and want to share them with the
Yeah.
world. It's the same with the lemon. If I look it up, there's a lot of stories and a lot of theories about what the cross was.
Yep.
So what I remember about the Death Star, was that it was a sour diesel times Sensi Star, huh?
Yep.
Yeah.
So, me and my partner that made Team Deathstar, or made Deathstar, we're walking around Camden and Homedale Fish Lot, and I had a sign around my neck that said, "I want your sour diesel." It was impossibly hard to get even, a gram of. And towards the end of the run of tour that we were doing, a person said that he could get me clones, or us clones. And so we waited in a hotel room for a couple days while this kid came through with clones, and we went home. And 90 days later, it was the New York City sour diesel. So I called my buddy crying, and he came over and got mad and was like, "I'll take care of this right now," and jumped in his van and just drove to Vermont and came back and with a little cooler and opened it, and this East Coast sour diesel went 3 feet tall out of this cooler. And so we got the East Coast sour diesel, but I was told not to give it to anyone, and so I couldn't, and we couldn't, and everyone got pretty angry about it eventually. And so we had the Paradise Seed Sensi Star, and we ended up going to, I think, Bonnaroo or something, and a friend was supposed to harvest for us and didn't, and so everything, we had bubblegum and G13, and supposedly my partner told me we had dumpster. I don't remember that, but everything hermed. And so because we were never allowed to give away the East Coast, we pollinated the Sensi Star with the East Coast sour diesel and with bubblegum. And I'll leave it at that because I don't remember pollinating G13. I really don't. But or the dumpster. But we got 4 seeds, and 2 were East Coast crossed with Sensi, and 2 were crossed with bubblegum. And so there was Bubble Star and 2 Death Stars.
Can I say something real quick?
Yeah.
So you know how you said that you don't remember? That's why we want to document these stories, because every day that goes by, we forget more and more. And so I'm really grateful that you're here. And I should be just upstairs resting, but I have fear of missing out. And this is, I think, going to be one of the best podcasts that we ever do, because you and Saraquoia together, it's just super special.
Hey.
So
I'm so happy to do this with you.
I'm gonna focus on the chat and just put some chat messages up. But again, I just wanted to tell you how grateful I am that you're here today, Maggie.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And like I said, I appreciate that you're documenting your story.
So again, I was just thinking about what you were saying about Cryan driving up to Vermont. You guys, Cryan Ryan was a good friend of ours, and he passed away in 2009. 2007. What?
2007.
Wow. Yeah, it goes by so fast. But
Sarah,
he was a rowdy road guy. But you were saying, so after you flowered, you got the plant from Philly, and then you flowered it, and then it wasn't the right one. Is that why he drove to Vermont?
From Ryan. Me and his partner and me and my partner waited in a hotel room for it. but it happened. It was New York. It wasn't East Coast. So after 90 days of finding, getting the results, we called Ryan, and he came over and drove right to Vermont and picked up the East Coast.
So it should have been the East Coast sour, and it was the New York sour?
Correct.
Yeah.
So the New York sour,
Wow.
or the East Coast sour diesel. So this is so confusing.
That's what, yeah.
As soon as I say I'm not going to say anything, then I can't shut up, right? That's why my name is Gabby.
Yeah.
But the New York City diesel, that's a Soma strain. Okay, that's the one that tastes like grapefruit. That when we were talking about the strawberry, that it tastes like that. And so
Maybe I could interject too.
go ahead,
What
I'll let you
year
take
was
over.
this?
Probably like,
I'm going to say 99. It was
99.
either 99.
Okay, so Gabby, I think that, okay. And so the reason why we're asking this is because what Gabby was saying about the New York City diesel being Soma, I don't think Soma's existed then yet. So I guess my question would be, because 99 is still pretty early in sour diesel world, how did you, like when you grew it out, the first one you got that you waited in the hotel room for, like your buddy, did you know what, like I'm just saying, like it's the first time you grew it, so how did you know what it was, what it wasn't? You showed it to your buddy, he was like, oh, it's not what I was hoping it was, there's a better one, something like that.
It didn't have that diesel-y flavor or smell. It had a darker hair. It grew pretty much the same, but it wasn't East Coast. It wasn't the East Coast sour.
And so your buddy,
you're saying it was more fruity?
Yeah, it wasn't. Yes, it was a long time ago. We kind of got rid of it pretty quickly. But it
so
didn't
whatever
have that.
it was, your buddy recognized it wasn't it and volunteered that he could go get the right one.
Correct.
And he drove to Vermont and got the right one.
Yep.
And then the like a million other beginning stories, it went too long and there was a Herm accident, and the East Coast sour diesel created some Herms, of which a few seeds were created on both the Sensi Star and the bubblegum.
The bubblegum and the sour hermed, and we just took a Q-tip with pollen and pollinated the sour, or the Deathstar, or well, the Sensi Star, excuse me.
Sensi Star, sure.
What was that bubble star like?
It was nice. It was just as crystally and kind of bushy and short like the bubblegum. Took a little longer. I just talked to a buddy yesterday that still has it.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
That part of the story gets interesting too.
Yeah. So I didn't mention Maggie, but the other genetics that Maggie has claim to fame of is the Jedi, right? That was your creation that was floating around Ohio for many years. So, yeah.
We'll get there. There's,
that's way later, I know, but I was just thinking about throwing that out there.
Okay, so out of the little pollination you did, how many seeds did you get out of the Sensi Star? 2. Okay, well, and then one of those became.
My partner thinks 4, but regardless, so we planted them, grew them, cloned the top, flowered the bottoms, and decided which one we wanted to keep, which became our Deathstar. But one of our close friends came over, and we gave him the other one. And he took it to Southern Ohio and called it Deathstar as well. So in history, forever and ever and ever, this Deathstar is not the same. This star is different. This Deathstar has shifted. Deathstar isn't right anymore. Well, there's always been 2. There's been 2 from the very beginning, and one is from Southern Ohio, and the one that is what you know of and what everyone loves is our Deathstar. And so there's always been 2, and That's why
But they're
they
full
look different.
sisters.
Yes. That's a huge thing that people don't understand. And so you'll hear a lot that it's not the same anymore. But it's a whole different, like.
Mhm.
And so there's really
Yeah.
not, like, unless you're part of your tiny little crew, like, there really wouldn't be a way to tell the difference since they conveniently got the same name.
Yeah,
Right,
the
exactly.
other one it's not as musty. It doesn't have that like super earth terp or that gassy terp.
Yeah,
It's kind of like meh, like it smells like diesel a little bit, but it's
he
definitely not as you guys kept the right one, is what I would
right.
say
Yeah,
out of those
he's
two. Hmm.
looking at too, but he's finally changed the name. Let me see here. I wrote it down somewhere. I talked to so many people last night that had a lot to do with the history of all this stuff. Shoot.
Well, while you're looking, I'll say that hopefully one day we will do a big Ohio show, and we have a bunch of Ohio people on and talking
Oh,
We
together.
there's
But
should, dude.
today we're
Ohio's
focusing
got
on
a
your
lot of
story.
lineage. Yeah.
yeah. People don't realize until they come through. Like, man, the weed that's come out of Ohio is just legendary.
Yeah.
The Ludium and the Lemon G and uh, Dumpster and Deathstar, and yeah, it's just since the very beginning. I remember getting Big Bud and Super Skunk. That was just, and the Ganny. Let's not forget about
Oh
the
yeah.
Ganny.
The
Good,
AK. Yeah.
good Lord, good.
Well, and the bubble gum too is very Midwest. Like you said, you guys had it before you made the
Yeah.
Death Star, you know. I remember other
Uh,
people having it. To me, it wasn't really a great yielder, but had such a curious smell because it really did just smell like bubble gum or like that fruit stripe gum, you
yeah,
know.
and it was
But,
done quickly. It was a fast one. I looked
hmm
that up yesterday. It says it's an indica, but I always thought it was a sativa. It's very uplifting.
yeah, yeah, it gets done quick like an indica. Huh?
I mean, for a long time, everybody used to call it the Indiana bubblegum, because,
Yeah,
I mean, things
Yep.
get passed around and they get famous in one part and they get a nickname attached to it. I mean, that's one of the cool things about, I mean, you mentioned Jedi, which I guess we'll get to, but it's like one of the things that I really liked about like old school weed culture is that, looks like we lost her for a second, but
Ooh.
we, at least Americans, I should say, we're relentless in giving nicknames, and it makes lineage sometime really hard because in each little
yeah,
crew you'll give a nickname for a
yeah,
strain, and a lot of times the nickname had some kind of reference to pop culture, right? Obviously, Death Star was like the big evil
yeah.
floating thing in
A
Star
Star
Wars
Wars
that could
reference.
destroy
Yeah.
planets or whatever, and
Hmm.
and what's funny is like that sort of became a problem when like weed actually became legal because we kind of just did what we wanted, right? And then when weed
Yeah.
became legal, there was all these names that had been trademarked, like
Uh,
Cinderella, right? Or Girl
oh,
Scout
right.
cookies, or
Right.
Thin Mint, you know what I mean? Or Death
Hmm.
Star, whatever. Like a lot of these things are like, trademarked things, names that go along with like, very famous, but like that's kind of what American weed culture did is we put our own little spin on pop culture, you
Yeah.
know? And
Yeah.
we also really liked to like have the name of the thing included. So Sensi Star, Death Star, you would
Right.
try to find some kind of
Yeah.
some kind of tie-in like that, and then things that are
Yeah.
catchy and get remembered, you
Yeah. I
know?
like it when there's the tie-in and you can kind of get the base of what's up with it. Like the lemon G has the G from the G13.
Yeah,
Um,
that's what I mean. So
we
there's a
get
lot of
Maggie
stuff
back
like
in
that.
here. We'll see if she can describe what she remembers the G13 looking and growing like, because that's something that people around Ohio, that's one of those duplicate things. Like, there's the G13 and then there's like, other copies that just aren't the old
You know what's
original.
interesting is how the names went away from describing the lineage to just
Right?
like describing the
Yeah, Thai
flavor
haze or
well, I mean now like,
Hindu
classic
Kush.
example, the first one was Skittles, right? It
Right,
was
right.
like
All the pastries.
right, or
Yeah,
wedding cake and it's like
candies. Yeah,
like what happened to the days of NL number 5 times haze when we knew what it
Well, it's
was,
right,
not, yeah, but
right.
it's there's a lot of things that got named that aren't the greatest marketing tool,
Right? It's
like
Hmm.
marketing.
dog shit or cat
Right,
piss
yeah.
or something like that that doesn't
How
quite
about
Dude,
this?
evoke.
One of my favorite names ever, Super Boof.
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, like,
Well,
what
that's
the?
like a lot of the weed grown.
that's almost like a tongue-in-cheek, you know what I mean, type of like making fun of itself thing in the
Right.
sense, but I just, and it's also I because I just find that, like, as a weed historian person or someone who tries to be, you will find a strain that as it goes through different little crews, they might have given it two or three different nicknames
Yeah.
along the way, and depending on what the
That's like
person that,
Rainbow Road Warriors. We get all the different nicknames. You have the same dude there, you
yeah,
know.
or and it's like, and so depending on who
But
you got it from or who spread it,
yeah.
it might attach that name to it. Like, for instance, the dog shit, which got called that in Oregon and spread out from there. The dude who got it from Minneapolis, it was called the Electric Boogaloo.
Hmm. See, I mean,
But
I could get why you would change the name from dog shit, like, because I agree it's not a
But
very
why'd you
good
ever name it the
marketing
dog
technique,
shit?
right?
you know why that dude
Yeah.
named it the dog shit? Was because he was
Why?
already growing the cat piss, and he thought it would be hilarious
Aha.
to his customers that he would have dog shit and cat piss. And this is
Wow.
the kind of thing in the 90s that's your random stoner could
Yeah.
just decide, you know?
Right. That's
And
funny.
but it, like, every layer of that nickname makes, like, what's the lineage? Well, I don't know. It's like, it was called this when I got it, you know? I gotta
Let me
apologize.
check my.
Gabby's hurting today.
Yeah,
I
he
have
really
terrible
is.
allergies, so you're probably gonna hear me cough, blow my
And, th-
nose some.
and then we're still
So,
struggling to get Maggie back on. But
Yeah, she
let's
said
see.
Saraquoia.
her Wi-Fi got disconnected and she's trying to jump back in.
Okay. Well, I'm sure
So
Notso Dog can keep us
that's what's
entertained in
going
the
on.
meantime.
Yeah.
And
Well,
Well, and
from now
I,
if we're
on,
I'm
waiting,
trying to
I'm gonna
hang
say
with you,
this:
dude. I was just
moving forward, I'm always gonna uh, give Notso Dog the title Weed Historian. It'll be
oh my
with
god.
special co-host
you are
Notso
one
Dog
of
Weed
the
Historian.
family historians. Yeah.
Well, you know what I will say, what's hard about it, in all honesty, is that, like, you try to be as accurate as you can, but 99% of weed history is oral, and it's just
Right.
stories told to you by other people. And as
Right.
Gabby will say, because, even stuff that Gabby and I were there, his memory sucks on some of it, or he
Mm.
remembers it differently than I do, even if it was just me and him there together, you know? And so people's memories can shift, people's stories shift. There's that old game you used to play, like, in grade school, where everyone would whisper a story into the next person's ear and you'd see how much it changed at the end. Because sometimes all it takes is sometimes people do it intentionally, sometimes people
Right.
do it
One
unintentionally.
trickster to just like say something different.
And so now what happens a lot of times is, like, because there is intentional lying that goes on in the scene for rap or money or what have you. There's a lot of unintentional, like, spreading of stories that aren't totally accurate,
Right.
simply
Well,
because,
so what about the intentional spreading of stories that were not accurate to cover your own ass in times
right,
and
well,
places where things weren't legal, right? To keep
I mean,
historians from figuring out who you were, like when
people
you
would
didn't, you
lie.
couldn't have them know.
People would
Uh,
lie to keep themselves safe,
right?
especially in states and in eras where they could get in severe trouble.
We had
And then
to.
those stories get repeated, and then they might get changed, and then you get accused of being like a publicity seeking liar about something. So weed stories are hard. I mean, one of the things you talk
Hmm.
about when you talk about sour or kush or
Right?
cookies or any of the big famous things is, excuse me, once you get four or five of the people that were there in the room together, they don't all tend to agree on everything.
Yeah.
So even amongst the people that were there,
Right.
they can have different memories,
Yep.
right?
Yeah, that's true. or
Hey,
have
can you
even
tell the
gotten a
story?
different story.
Not
Huh?
so dog. Can you tell the story about how when you and Sean used to go to a party, you would have him sell you weed so that nobody knew
Oh,
it was
dude.
coming from
So
you?
yeah. So I like in Chicago. I'm sure Ohio was the same, but in Chicago there was pretty severe penalties in the '90s for doing what we were doing, right?
She's
And
back.
Okay, great.
good weed,
Sorry about that.
good weed,
No worries. We'll let Notso
good
tell the
weed was
story.
so rare that people would talk about it,
Yeah.
right? Like if someone had extremely good weed, people would talk, right? Like about this extremely good weed. And so in order to avoid getting busted, there was probably three people that knew I grew weed. And so one of my best
Hmm.
friends, who sadly has long since passed, but I introduced him to Gabby and we all became pretty good friends. He lived in California for a bit. Um, I used to sell him weed, and then we would be at like a party with 15 or 20 people or something, and I would buy a quarter off him for $100 in front of people,
Yeah.
right? Because if I did that, that meant I wasn't the guy,
Right.
because they had seen. So like you needed, like, in order to
It
like
was
throw
cover.
people off the trail, it was like a cover. Like
Right.
that's why I
Yeah.
have this good weed, because I spent $100 on a quarter.
Right.
Because back then, good weed was so hard to find. Like, even us being connected, we would get weed and we would hope that we would find more of some kind of good weed before we ran out and were forced to buy Mexican again.
Right.
It was not all that common to come across,
Right.
you know?
Yeah. Back when we were breathing the lemon, or when these guys had the Death Star, I'd say probably half our friends in Columbus still smoked mostly Mexican
Yeah,
at
and
that
even
time.
if you had a
So,
friend that had an indoor, let's say that indoor was 3 lights or 4 lights or something, that amount of herb would go so fast to the
right.
various friend groups and get spread out that like you could be pretty close to it and it would still be gone quick. It wasn't like there was like large loads regularly coming in. It
Hmm.
was like you would get some weed and then you'd be like, "Oh man, I'm getting low. I hope I can find some more before I have to go buy some brown or green Mexican." You
Yeah.
know? And
Maggie.
yeah.
It's
Uh,
Maggie's
So
back. You know about people trying to seek out people about good weed, don't you, lady?
oh my gosh, I remember going to like Gathering the Vibes and having some and just trading it for like the Durbans and the oh gosh Black Domino, and we just having we like so many good strains by being able to trade. I was gonna say about the paranoia of the house and whatnot. Uh, I always kept it 4 people or less that ever knew where I lived, and would move constantly. And it was and the little play tricks like buying the $100 quarter of your own shit, constantly deflecting clues of anything, because it was scary back then.
Yeah, it
well,
was.
I,
especially because if let's say an unscrupulous person got in trouble, or even like someone that like was a generally good person but just got scared,
Hmm.
a lot of times back then the cops would be like, "Well, give us 3 people and you won't go to prison." And you
Yeah.
never wanted to be one of those 3 people. So
Yeah,
keeping it really close to where only your closest friends knew what was up, that obviously
Yeah.
hopefully loved you enough to not sell you down the river. That was like I think that kind of stuff has been forgotten because people have lost the fear, right? But there was real fear,
I
Hmm.
remember
you know?
when we moved to Las Vegas in 2008, I believe, something like that. Uh, and we had the photographer come to take photos of the pro after the Las Vegas Cup. Blind them. And so long to get over the East Coast fear. Once we got to California, uh, people were so open, and I still acted like I lived in the Midwest. Like uh, it was wild, and then I finally was able to be like more open about it. And then I moved back to the East Coast, and I was too loud again. It was interesting, but uh, it was really neat having the freedom to just be more open about um, being proud of yourself. Like doing good.
Yeah.
I'd like to
Yeah.
tell a little story, if you let me. I I was growing in my home, and literally I did not have a single friend that I told. This is like shortly after moving to California, and no one knew I grew. I mean, zero. Actually, people knew that I grew, but there were friends that lived on the East Coast. And this was before cell phones. And one day, a friend of mine was in the neighborhood. He knew where I lived because he'd been to my home, right? But he was in the neighborhood and he just decided to stop by and say hello. He saw my car. He knocked on the door and I freaked out on him. Like he knocked on the door. He's like, "Hey, Gabby, how you doing?" I'm like, "What the fuck are you doing showing up here without calling me?" Da 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 da. And like, it was so over the top. Like, if anything, like I was letting him know that there's something up, because like, but
Huh?
I'm like, who the fuck is knocking at my door? Like I thought it was the
Yeah.
cops, you know.
Yeah.
Oh,
And the thing is, like, he wasn't home. This was before cell phones, so he couldn't
right.
call me. And it was just fucking ridiculous, But that was the paranoia that we had to live with at that time.
Yeah.
Growing weed is just extreme. People today will never know, like,
Hmm.
like the fear that we had. I mean,
Dude,
I was so scared I used to flush my soil down the toilet. You know?
I had a good friend, and how I met him is really funny because I was growing in this apartment, and I would walk by. I would have like my girlfriend or whatever. We were always like sniffing everywhere, trying to see if any smell escaped, because it was like before carbon filters or anything like that. I caulked the whole room it was in, like the windows and all that. And I was like so proud of myself that it didn't smell anywhere. And then this dude with this big beard knocks on my door one day, and it's my next door neighbor. And he's like, "Dude, can we talk?" And I was like, "Sure, I suppose." He's like, let me in for a second, dude. And so I come in and he goes, "I don't know what you're doing, but my entire apartment smells like weed."
Holy
And I'm like,
shit.
"What do you mean?" He's like, "No, come here." And so he takes me next door to his apartment, and I walk in, and it smelled like my drying room. And it didn't
Wow.
smell in my house. It didn't smell in the hallway. It didn't smell. I thought I was being so slick. And in reality, I was blessed because the dude next door to me just happened to be cool. And I walked
Wow.
into his house, I walked into his apartment, and it just reeked like high heaven. Like literally like you were standing underneath hanging
And did he
plants. And I
really
was like,
not know what was going on?
"No." He was like, "Dude, my whole apartment smells like weed. What's going on?" And I was like, "What do you mean it smells like weed?" He's like, "Just come in my apartment for a second."
Wow.
And I came in his apartment and I was like, "Oh my God." All right. So I made friends with
That
him. His name
star's
was
pretty stinky.
his name was Norval. And yeah, and we
Oh,
actually became pretty.
Norval, he came to California, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
That's how I
wow.
met Norval.
That's
That's how
funny.
literally he knocked on my door and he's like, "Dude, we gotta talk." And yeah, and I was drying, it was like 2 pounds. I was drying like a couple lights worth of weed. And I was so happy that it smelled nowhere except for Norval's apartment reeked, but it was like, if that would have been a bad person, I probably would have gone to jail. If that would
Yeah.
have been like
Well,
somebody that was religious or older or didn't like herb or this or that or whatever, it was a total bust. I
yeah.
just was blessed that it was like a young kid that was into weed and was friendly. And he
Listen,
was stoked that his next door neighbor grew. Like he was pumped, like so. Anyway, I'll shut up. But
So
no,
Maggie, you were mentioning a few other varieties that you guys were growing. So we were around the same time, we all had those, like we all had the AK and the bubble
I
gum, our
had,
one tie-dye buddy always had the gum, and you
yep.
know,
Uh,
he was kind of specialty with that. And I kept that G13 around because we'd grow it and stuff. And you mentioned having it.
I
Can you describe for me the G13 flower that you grew, how it grew, what it
it was
looked like?
hard to get it to, like, when you top it, it was hard to get it past 2 or 3, but it would just grow this huge hollow stem straight up like a pencil, and it smelled like skunk pee, or like just something like that you wanted to never smell again, but then couldn't wait to smell them again. But there was the one, no, what is it? 2001 G13 in Canton, right?
Yeah, can't. Yeah,
I
that's
sat
our.
at the Canton G
Hmm.
uh, from a very old guy, and it was
Yeah, I
he,
know the people that had it up there. We used to get ours from Kentucky, but it is the same plant. Yeah.
um Did you think that there were two though? Because I
Oh
had
no, I
two.
think now that there's been legalization, there's some people with some adulterated G13 that they just call G13, but it's not it at all. So,
I just knew someone a while back, and they say they have it still, and so I'm gonna
that'd be
pursue.
cool.
Yeah, just try it
Yeah,
again.
it'd be nice to like get a hold of the flower, take a look at the picture, because we all kind of routinely describe it the same as being like a thick stem, a very short plant, kind of weird, thick leaves.
Yeah.
What about its flower density?
Oh, dense as could be.
Yeah,
Dense,
yeah,
very
like,
dense.
yeah. And then what about how was it hard to trim, easy to trim?
Easy, very
It was
easy.
easy as fuck, yeah, because there was nothing on it but these golf balls
Yeah,
and
like
like the few big leaves, yeah. So
yeah.
cool. Yeah.
Uh,
So what you guys didn't keep it around. A lot of people didn't.
I
Notso and
did.
I were talking on the other show, mostly probably because of the bag appeal. It just didn't have very good bag appeal because of how
Right.
dense the buds were.
Because it was so thick,
Mhm.
third of a gram maybe or something like that. You know what I mean? But I know I kept it around. I don't know how it got lost. For us, I have no idea. But I had it. We had it for a long time. And possibly made G Star, but I don't. Don't quote me on that.
Oh man, that would be sweet. Because as weird and little as that plant was, I know that the lemon G, it's mostly like the skunk and the sativa side of it that gives it its girth and stuff, but it does have that weird leaves and the kind of odd smell that the G had.
So what did we have? I don't remember having the dumpster, but there might be dumpster was around for a minute. Don't quote me on that. But back then, since she's we went to Vancouver for fish in '99, I think. Might have been 2000. I have to check the fish. But ended up getting white rhino, jumping jack flash, and I can't recall the other ones. I ended up skipping the show and going to the coffee shop and making friends with them. And so we did bring jumping jack flash and the rhino out, and we had mostly stuck with the bubble gum and the Scentsy Star. Always wanted the guinea, never got it. Gosh, I don't know. I never really strayed up until like years later. The mango guinea. Do you remember the mango guinea?
Yeah, totally. I do.
That's
Yeah,
a beautiful.
there's people down here that still have it around our area that it can be a big fucking yielder for sure. Yeah.
Huge.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I know someone that got almost 7 pounds off one LED. It was
Wow.
amazing. Beautiful.
Fucking awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a dude that grows giant ones down here every summer outside, and they're like
I can't imagine.
5 people wide and shit, 7 people wide, But
And the
yeah.
big knot bottom of the knotty stems.
Mm-hmm.
They grow most cool. Never messed. I got a chance to mess with Gorilla Glue, in California, a little bit.
What did it remind you of? The Gorilla Glue?
Geez. I don't know. Like so many long stems between the nuggets.
Yeah.
But really, they were dense enough that they weren't like G13 or needed a grinder, but
Right.
like
Is
it
it
looked
more like a Kush or something?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But it's a little less dense. I want to talk about the Jedi at some point. It's
Oh, hell yeah, lady. Go right ahead. So you guys migrated to Vegas, right? And then you didn't really know anybody there, right? And then you entered a cup out there, is that right? Tell us a little bit about that. How that changed your situation for Team Deathstar.
In 2005, we went to Vegas, the festival that was down there. And I have this, I was watching old DVDs or camcorder tapes like a month ago. And me and my partners, we had a third wheel at all times. It was a great friend of ours. And we were looking out the window in Vegas and going, we could own this town. And we were ground square clothes back then. And we were selling battery shirts. And we just thought they would do great in Vegas. And and we moved in 2008, I think. And we grew a whole thing of Deathstar and knew nobody, knew not a goddamn soul. And there was this glass convention that was about to happen in Vegas. And so we caught a couple glass blower friends of ours. And they were like, yo, like, get in touch with this guy, make friends with these people, go to the glass convention, you'll be okay. And so we did. And everyone loved it. And one of the friends we met said, hey, there's a cup going on this weekend. And I was like, okay. And it was like 2 ounces. And I don't believe there was money I think it was just 2 ounces. Maybe it was 2 ounces, $200, something like that. And we put, I have to talk about how the Deathstar was named and stuff too. But we put a little Yoda in the bag with the weed. And it like, call a number after 8 p.m. Don't take a Uber or a taxi. And it was in this like old mobster house in the middle of the desert in Vegas. And we didn't know a soul. And we were all judges. And we were number 5 because we were judging our own weed. We were judging everyone's weed. We knew we were number 5. And we were walking around and all these people were talking about spicy number 5. Wow, the spicy number 5. Like, what is this? Like, what is it? Because nobody had it ever before on the website. And the guy that threw the contest, I shall remain nameless because he's a TV star nowadays. And we won. And we also got the bird flu. And so we met the person that next day and got this beautiful chalice cup of I believe moss green, which is like a super retired, really neato glass color. And we won that cup. And it was all based on nobody knew us and nobody liked the weed because somebody else said the weed was cool or anything like that. We just it was amazing. And we made a lot of glass friends. I became very involved in the glass community at that point. And also during that weekend, instead of it just being Deathstar, Michael Jordan entered the Hall of Fame that day, Red 23. And we were around a roulette table with all these glass blowers, and Red 23 kept hitting and hitting and hitting. And
you mean on the roulette table?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Inauguration or whatever. And so Banjo, this awesome glass blower, goes, Team Deathstar. And that's how it became Team Deathstar. And we started making shirts and vending them at the glass shows. And that's how Team Deathstar really became Team Deathstar.
Cool.
Yeah. What was I going to say? Oh, well, I wanted to reverse for a second.
You wanted to talk about the origin of the name Deathstar, though, for the plant.
Yeah. It'll hopefully come back. But before it was named Deathstar. And so we made the Deathstar because everyone was mad at us that we didn't give away the East Coast because we were told not to. So the Deathstar got made, and some people have this a little different too. We gave it to everybody. Because we weren't allowed to give away the other one, and our friends were losing the Misty for life. The Ganny was lost.
I hated it when we lost the Misty.
Yeah, dude. Yep, me too. I still talk about it. Reading the Canna Bible.
She was a dream, Misty. You know. Oh, sorry to interrupt.
No, I talk about it. But I gave it to everybody that wanted it. Like, it was no problem at all, and which made it, in my opinion, famous in some sort besides the Team Deathstar part, because everyone had it, everyone could get it. It was kind of like a phenomenon where like it wasn't
It
like
was
so
around. Mhm.
yeah, it wasn't elusive like you
Yeah.
couldn't get it. Trying to get a bag of dumpster was
Yeah, I
damn.
traded you guys before you left for Vegas, and then we had it down in our neck of the woods after that. You know.
Yeah. It cracks me up about the other Death Star because for forever people complain about it that it's not the same.
Hmm.
Yeah. I don't know yet. It'll
Yeah,
come
I
back.
think people are less are like more reluctant about sharing it nowadays. Maybe just because of all the greed in our cannabis industry. You know, is that ever something that you think about when you're giving away clones? Like where they might go or who might be end up selling them for big money and then we don't get anything, or do you care?
No, I don't care.
You
But
don't
that's
care?
part. No, I don't care. No. I don't mind. Unless they're like stepping on my feet or something, like with my friends. No, I don't care.
I hear
Everything
you.
everything I have is anyone can have or had, whatever. But uh, I tried.
You
You
guys
just
gave
opened
it
the
to a
door to
lot of
getting a lot of
people
text
before you
messages.
left. Huh? Well, you
She-
gave it away to a lot of people before you guys ever moved to Vegas, so huh?
Uh-huh. Oh
So
yeah.
yeah, because I remember I had a cut of it, and I knew a few others that. And then our one friends that used to do the fire spinning, they crossed the lemon with the Death Star after you left, and that was a really nice flavor. It had a, you know, kind of a denser buds, like the Death Star's way denser than the lemon, and it was like it was
I've
pretty
had,
sweet.
and I really liked the oh gosh, strawberry lemon.
You like that strawberry lemon?
I
Sweet.
Yeah, I did. I thought that
Yay.
was great.
Yay.
Um, yeah, the lemon has such a. Remember the what was Grunk? Do you remember Grunk?
I don't know. I don't know if I remember Gronk.
I don't.
Is this a
I think
hippie or a weed strain? I have to ask.
I thought it was part of the Lysol lemon. Like it was
Oh,
lemon.
okay. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it my grumpy.
Yeah.
I'm,
Grumpy. Yeah. Yeah. I talked to him. He doesn't have the Lysol anymore. But he took a couple of those different varieties from that seed out to Colorado. You know,
yeah.
but I don't know how much you remember about that seed stock, but some of those were really rank. Yeah. But Grumpy, you know, he likes stuff that's weird. And
Yeah.
Grumpy's grumpy. Smells like garbage. I love it. Yay. Yeah. Right?
I
But
It's a
I
weird
yeah,
thing with
Grumpy and I
cannabis.
lived we didn't worry about people coming and knocking on our door, Gabby. We lived in the inner city in the late 90s, me and Grumpy, and we had Kyla, who was like a giant, what are those cop dogs called? Belgian Malinois. And everybody knew she would bite because she had bit all of us, you know. And then we had
I
we called him a pumpkin lab, my red-nosed pit bull, because you weren't allowed to have one of those either, you know. But a pumpkin lab was exotic. You're like, oh, pumpkin lab, that's weird. Stay out of the yard, you know. But yeah,
had that.
Grumpy had a few of those varieties, but we lost him to well, not long after you guys left, actually, is when he moved to Colorado. Yeah,
Yeah, I've seen him a
yeah,
couple times.
cool. Yeah, yeah, I saw him at GD60, I think was the last time I saw, or GD50 rather. So
I
it's been a
was
minute.
looking at this the other day on my laptop, and it was a decade ago. Uh,
Is
I did
Maggie
not.
breaking up for everybody? Maggie, you're breaking up a little bit.
Okay.
Hmm,
Uh,
hmm.
oh.
So
now I hear you okay.
Okay. Okay.
Must have been your internet for a minute.
Possibly.
Don't worry
I'm
about
all
it.
trying. Okay. Well, so we lived in Vegas for 2 years. I'm still gonna remember something about the Death Star. Oh, you asked me what strains.
huh?
Yeah, we messed with White Widow and White Rhino and um, might even had Northern Lights. But really, I had strawberry cough, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it mostly stuck with the Sensi and the Deathstar and the East Coast and the Bubblegum
Yeah.
for a long.
That was a good selection.
Yeah. So while we were in Vegas, we frequented the 2 glass shows, Champs and Age, and we had the photo shoot in 2010 where we blindfolded the photographer for High Times, Danny Dinko. Yeah. And it made him car sick.
Oh
and
no.
yeah, we got that front page in the centerfold of High Times.
Yeah, I remember that.
It was
Yeah.
amazing. It was so
Yeah.
cool.
When the
Big,
Death Star got in there.
I want to see a
Yeah.
picture of Danny Danko looking nauseous after riding blindfolded in your car.
It was, if we were still Ohio paranoid, right? So
Yeah, right.
shoot and got the opportunity to, I might forget something. Oh, so we were frequenting the glass shows. Ended up making the Team Deathstar shirts. I made those. I was the graphic designer, and my partner's marketing skills and everything he does is amazing. So he, we made business cards. We already had Ground Square Clothing as an LLC, and so we had a booth at Champs and Age, where Team Deathstar became so popular. People were making, Hitman was making pipes with all the logos on it. Several people made other kind of really cool pipes with Team Deathstar stuff, and just everyone liked the Deathstar so much. And we got an opportunity to move to California, and that's when Swerve from Cali Connection hit us up to make Jedi Kush seeds. Oh wait, well when we moved to California, the very first people that were there was a place in LA. It was the very first dispensary in LA, and I can't remember the name of the dispensary, but they took the Deathstar right away, and then right after that, Harborside started taking the Deathstar for a very high price, and if it was over 25% THC, it was even more, and that kept up for quite a bit.
That they were paying to get it in there.
Top dollar, like just as much as the East Coast and if it was more than 25% THC, then there was extra bonus. And they were always testing. I can't remember the name of the lab. They had the very first machine that tested for CBD and terpenes. And
what do you know about the CBD content of the Deathstar and the THC content?
Of the Deathstar, I don't know where I'd find that. I know the Jedi Cut has a 25% CBD almost. We won Jedi highest CBD cannabis cup in 2013.
With the Jedi?
With the Jedi. We entered for hybrid, and so we were just like kicking it around, watching the awards, and they called us up for highest CBD. It was the first year of them testing CBD, so it wasn't going against like Charlotte's Web or Sour Tsunami or anything. But we were all confused and went on stage and were like, what did we win this for? And we have a highest CBD award for Jedi. It also won a bunch of stuff. Best solvent hash, best non-solvent hash. One is I think Campus Cup in one in Denver and one. I really like the Jedi Kush a lot. It is quite different than Deathstar because it's crossed with the. So we went to Cali, got the SVOG mail. What?
It's crossed with what?
The Jedi is San Fernando Valley Kush crossed with Deathstar.
Okay.
And we had males of the SVOG. And so that time, we had the 2 males all in the females room and hit them with baseball bats with goggles on and stuff. And we did a whole room there. It was the coolest. And got a bazillion seeds. Which there's only been, that was in 2010. And there's 10 seed packs left. And so I was talking to my partner with Deathstar yesterday. He's put them on his website, Team
Cool.
Deathstar. If you guys want any Jedi Christies out there, they're almost gone. They're
TeamDeathstar.com.
Team Deathstar. And so yeah, there's 10 seed packs left. Out of he has 12, so there's only 2 after that he's. I have some as well in the old seed bank, but that was the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
And so I've planted 8 seeds of Jedi, and picked my favorite, and to this day that's the only one that's like the one I like the best is still the one that I've given away, and it's still around, and it grows a lot like Kush. It's frostier and lighter and taller, and I never liked the taste of Deathstar super. I thought, Sarah, what do you think Deathstar tastes like? Like, what would you describe it?
It's garlicky, it's spicy, it's skunky and kind of rank. But kind of like I'm gonna trigger Gabby, but kind of like body odor. Right?
I mean,
I don't know. It's that skunky side of like, smells good.
I grow Deathstar, and what I've noticed, I don't know if you guys will like find this as well, but I think it can come out very different for like different grow rooms or different styles, right? Like maybe, I don't know if you've experienced that or not, but it seems like it has a range of smells in there, and which one comes to the forefront, it can vary based on grow room and time.
What about I think time more than, if you all have kind of lights that work, it's probably more when it gets harvested. The lemon has that too. It'll be like sweeter or more skunky depending on when it's harvested.
Well, let's go there for a second.
Okay.
When do you like to harvest Deathstar? How long? How many days would you let it go? What's the range that you find it happy in?
60, 65, maybe a double blowout.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Interesting, because my friend from Ohio, that had it for a long time, he would take it 12 weeks.
Wow.
And he swore that if you took it 12 weeks, it would be stronger and better, and it would have different noses. And if you took it earlier, it would have a little bit more of that like rankness, like I don't want to say skunk, but like it would have more of that like kind of nose crinkly, like
I mean, it's loud. Deathstar is loud. That's why I was like, I know about people coming around just over good weed, because you can be like across the hall from people, and open that jar, and they'll be they'll come over, they'll be like, oh, how are you guys? But
I had a tiny bullpack.
That's one of the things I would describe it as. It's just like super loud, super skunky loud for sure.
At one point, I wanted to say, like, while you guys were chatting back and forth, especially when you guys were talking about like old strains that might exist with friends still, is I think there are certain states, like, or like Ohio would be one of them, where like, California, good and bad, has this thing where we cycle through stuff faster, right? Where like in a lot of regions in America, it's like you would get a hold of your kind bud strains and you would hold on to them because it wasn't like it was that easy to get more.
Right.
And you would experience friends that would have different ones, and you would try them out and you would see. But if it ended up being good and you liked it, you might not care what like the larger American market was doing. As long as your friends and circles enjoyed it, you might just hold on to it and keep doing it because it worked fine for you and it worked fine for your friends, Where in California, we had that era, but probably starting in the early 2000s, we went to like, we started having these waves of popularity of different cuts, and people would often
when
try
all
to
the
get
pastries
like
came.
No, even long before that. Like I would say, I mean, Gabby can back me up on this, but like when the when the purples really became popular, like the grape apes and the purple Urkel and the granddaddy purple, everyone grew that.
Yeah.
Everyone, like everyone that could get a hold of it, grew it because the brokers wanted it really bad. And then when that era ended and people wanted Kush and sour, 99% of the people dropped those purple cuts and just grew gas or Kush. And then some
Yeah.
people dropped that and grew cookies. And then some people dropped that and grew Skittles. And so it kind of just kept, like
I see.
you end up at cakes or gelatos or this or whatever, but it's kind of like, what are brokers bugging you for? Where like in Ohio, it might be like you have a circle of friends and they have a circle of friends and you can keep growing the same high grade herb and they're
Hmm.
perfectly content with that as their herb.
Oh yeah, we are,
Absolutely.
I
Like
think.
that, like the lemon G or the Death Star or what have,
Right.
like that works
Yeah, I mean,
fine.
and we go other places and we'll be like, where's their other, where's the like
Yeah.
where's that
But the
Ohio
positive
flavor?
to that
You
is
know?
that now there's pockets of people that kept, like, that's the hardest thing in herb is who holds on to the stuff when it becomes unpopular.
Right. Yeah.
Because a
Yeah. I
lot of
mean,
time in
some things are lost forever, even things that were popular, like
in
the Misty,
California,
See, other people remember my girl. She was
everybody's
a good
hoping that
one.
someone else holds on to something so they can get it
Right.
back when they want it to. And if
Hmm.
enough people hope other people are doing that, things get lost over
Yeah,
and over
that's
and over
true.
again.
That's
And so
true.
it's cool, like having, like in Ohio, you have pockets of old timers that are like, oh, I've grown these same two or three things forever. And it makes sense for my circle and my friend group and what I like to smoke. And so I've just never
Hmm.
felt pressured to change,
Right. That's
you know?
reliable,
I,
So
Anyway, I just wanted to throw
I
that in
hear
there
you.
because it's like that's how a lot of old things get lost is something new becomes popular and they
Hmm.
drop the old thing for the popular thing. And then they turn around and they want to find the old thing again and they can't, you
Yeah,
know?
moving was always my challenge, like putting the girls out a few places if I had to move somewhere, and be like, uh, yeah. What about you, lady?
yeah, I actually, moving was a challenge for sure. Um, um, moving, moving from Vegas to California and the fruit stands. Um, uh, you know, just trying to get things really far from, Ohio to Vegas in a snowstorm, stuff like
Right?
that. Um,
Wow.
yeah. Some things just ended up not doing well, like drifting. Like I remember the strawberry cough just, like kind of just didn't feel like it anymore. Oh, I wanted to talk about the Death Star. You were talking about uh, being smelling different in different environments of rooms. I've always found that
Yeah.
the Death Star always required more nutrients, but watered less. Like it was never dry, like when the rest of the room was dry. But it wanted more of everything, just a little bit. So I would make a separate bucket,
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
high food, less water.
yeah,
In the same media. Hmm.
yeah.
That
Yeah.
actually
Did
makes
you
a lot
guys
of
do the Pro
sense.
Mix and other like Pro Mix Cocoa
I
Perlite Mix or
that uh,
huh?
we tried that recipe, that one that was popular with the Pro Mix and Backwana and etc. But we always stuck with Ocean Forest, and it was a little hot at first, and we would use perlite, always
Hmm.
soil, messed with Evan grows and stuff every once in a while. Even had the
Yeah.
Omega garden, which was really fun.
Yeah.
Um,
I still
yeah,
use my Mega for moms or for like babies, because it just waters them. I don't, you know, come
yeah,
back later and be like, you're too tall. But
yeah,
yeah, so mostly dirt farming, huh?
yep,
Um,
yep,
Yeah.
yep.
What about like seabird guanos and stuff or high phosphorus stuff? Did you guys amend any stuff in there?
Nope.
Um,
Occasionally we would, because it's so hot at the beginning, if there was, no critters or anything, just amend it with the Ocean Forest Amendment, reuse the soil one more time. Um, but
the happy frog.
No, it's marine cuisine.
Marine cuisine. Yeah, that's the one.
I
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, if there's no critters.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear you.
But and then for years, Botanicare, just your basic, grow, bloom, liquid karma, CalMag, and then
Silica. I mean,
sometimes. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I really liked Boombastic, a lot.
Did you use
And,
Ocean
Yeah.
Forest in Ohio?
yeah,
Yeah,
and it's much
it's
California.
popular here.
All right, so then
Mhm.
I have a question. It's totally
Yeah.
random. What does a bag of Ocean Forest cost in Ohio?
Oh God, it depends.
Oh, they're probably $27 right now for a 2 cubic foot bag.
Because
Yeah.
Gabby and I used to hustle a lot of Ocean Forest when he had
Dude,
his
I have
shop.
to. Yeah.
And it came from Humboldt, right? And so, obviously soil and stuff, it's mostly like shipping is weight and volume, you know? And so we used to sell what we used to sell Ocean Forest for
$10
eight,
a bag.
9, $10 a bag
Tops. If it was more than 10
tops.
bucks, no one would pay it.
Yeah.
It was 20 when I opened my grow shop in 2012 here. You could expect to pay about $20 a bag, and it's just like gone up a couple, percent every, 3 or 4 years till
I
But we
now.
were a
figured it
little
had to
over
be.
100 miles from where it was made.
Yeah, so for us it was like we could order it and it would be shipped down from Humboldt to us. But I was just curious because I know that like shipping, involved. So I was like, man, I bet their ocean was a lot more expensive.
When I lived in Sonoma, I believe so. We would buy it by the pallet,
Yeah.
and honestly, I think we got it down to $11 per pallet. But the Humboldt, the Ocean Forest on the West Coast has less sawdust. They put in the North Carolina or South Carolina plant. There's a lot more sawdust, and I think critters come more often. But
I
there
didn't
is
even
a
realize they had a South Carolina plant.
it's either North Carolina or South Carolina, and it's different. And that, don't quote me on that, but there was at one time, if there isn't still. But yeah. So Sonoma County, I ended up switching to cutting
To what?
cutting edge.
Cutting edge for your liquid newts.
Yeah. Botanicare all the way up for a whole long time.
Mm-hmm.
And then cutting edge. I went through the Canna. I tried that, and Roots Organic and BioBiz. They're all great. But cutting edge is out of Santa Rosa, and so it was local, and it works really well. I like the micro bloom and grow, and then there's Uncle John's blend with CalMag. I like
Plant
it a lot.
Amp.
What's that?
Plant Amp is their Cal.
Yeah.
The other
Yeah,
one
Gabby
is
and I have been friends with the owner of Cutting Edge pretty much since its inception.
Nice.
He's a very old friend of mine.
I still use
And
Cutting Edge. I use their louder powder.
yeah,
With
The powder.
dry
I
well
solvent.
dry
Dry soluble.
a lot of the old hydro companies went powder because shipping, like I was talking about before with Ocean Forest, is volume and weight, and it's just so unbelievably cheaper to ship a powder than it is to ship a diluted liquid.
Right.
And so most of them have ended up making. They have a liquid version for your like small time farmers and stuff like that, and then anybody bigger, commercial, or someone that just wants like cheaper, they have a most companies now have a powder version, just because it's shipping is so much money.
Yeah,
So
I get the because the price is right. Cool Bloom, but the powder version, I like.
Yeah, Cool Bloom
so
works good.
here's a random story about that. It used to be called Kabloom, and
Kabloom!
it had a giant bomb on the front of it.
I
and
remember
then
that. I remember
and
that.
then because Gabby and I used to have it at the store, and then with the whole 9/11 thing and all that, it became problematic to ship products that had a giant
Kaboom.
bomb and said kabloom, you know? And so
That's
they changed
ridiculous.
it. They changed it to cool bloom, and they changed the art from a giant bomb exploding to flowers.
Flowers,
And
yeah.
so
That's funny.
kabloom became cool bloom, and it went from
That's good
bombs to
trivia.
flowers and sunshine because it started getting held up, and they wanted to know what was up with this fertilizer. Is this fertilizer
Wow.
meant to like make a bomb? Is it
Will it
shady?
go
Why does it
boom?
look like that? Does it go
Wow.
kaboom? Well, too, because the the whole Oklahoma City disaster or whatever, that was a fertilizer bomb.
Right, yeah.
You
That's
know, they
true.
packed a
Yeah.
they packed a U-Haul or a Ryder truck or something full of fertilizer, and so yeah, so
Yeah.
kabloom changed.
Yeah.
It was unintentional marketing in the wrong direction, and they shifted the name. You know.
So Maggie, what are you using now? Or what are you still using the cutting edge?
Yep. Yeah.
You got your 6 plants in Ohio.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Still cutting edge. Anderson Forest. Yep.
Cool.
I'm like,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, I get it, dude. If it's not broke, don't fix it. You know, like I use the same
I
stuff I usually use.
guess
Yeah.
when I try something new, it has to be just a little experiment instead of like going full on, you know.
Yeah, I get
like
that too. Yeah. So, what were you going to tell us the origin of how you guys came up with the name Deathstar? Like, you're big, I know you're Star Wars fans, right? You put your Yoda into the cup bag.
Yeah.
So.
And the Team Deathstar shirts are all Yoda. They're related. But we brought the first batch down to Bonnaroo, and this old lady we were smoking with goes, "That tastes like death." And our partner, Hash Lucky Man, goes, "We should name it Deathstar." And so there it was. And then
That's
Team
cool.
Deathstar, that table, yeah.
Cool.
And then just a given
coming from the Death Star, yeah. Yeah. Very cool. So do you know anything about the CBD content of the Death Star? Or just the Jedi?
I'm sure it's out there. It was, I still can't remember the name of the lab. They had this huge machine that was, because it was like, you know, gosh, 18 years ago.
Was it SC Labs?
SC Labs. There's a little green logo.
Mm-hmm. It's probably them.
Yeah. I don't know. We'd have to look it up. I'm sure it's on the harbor side, or you know, whatever.
Yeah. Okay. But do they still sell Death Star now at Harborside, or?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
Everyone says there's Death Star.
Is Harborside even open anymore, Notso?
Yeah, I don't know.
Think so. Yeah, it got taken over by investors essentially. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of. I think Cookies is going through it now too. I think a lot of like prominent cannabis companies, when things went legal, they thought that they would get immense riches, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so they took a bunch of investor money, not realizing that, like, you know, the investors essentially are going to end up owning because it's their money, you know? And so I think like the original people at Harborside, like Steve D'Angelo and some of those other guys, they got pushed out, you know? And I think that's happened to, you know, there was a number of people that were like chasing riches. And so, you know, you take millions or tens of millions of dollars in loans and investment money. Well, then now all of a sudden you have to answer
that back. Mm-hmm.
Now you got to answer to people, or you end up like not owning the company anymore that you used to own.
Yeah.
Fun to hang out with. Like,
and the other thing is different.
Yeah, he's old Rainbow Head.
When she was supplying Harborside, that was the era of 215 where you could walk into Harborside with a medical card and be like, hey, I've got this bag or this duffel bag full of weed or hash or what have you. Would you like to take a look at it? And there would be
That's cool.
buyers there that would start to take a look at it. And if they liked it and you had a card, that could end up on the shelf later that day.
Yep, that's
Wow.
how.
And when 215 ended and Prop 64 replaced it, now all of a sudden everything on their shelf had to be a licensed farm. It had to have had jump through all these hoops. It had to have all these business things. It had to have that. And so
Wow.
a lot of the people that used to be supplying those clubs no longer were able to, because they didn't make the transition from 215 to like a registered facility,
Yeah.
you know.
Wow.
It got weird once it got legal in California.
Yeah.
Fast. But it was like for the greater good. I mean, like everybody should be able to buy weed. It was fun getting my first medical card in California. I can't remember where it was. The very first like dispensary in Oakland. Super awesome guy. I can't remember the name of it, but it was nice. It was so cool to be just able to
Go in there and buy weed. Yeah.
Wild. It's really cool.
Have you been into any of the Ohio dispensaries?
I went to one,
Yeah.
but quite a long time ago, and you couldn't smell it or look at it first. But it was like it was fancy
It's
and
still
bougie.
like that.
Is it? Yeah.
Yeah, it's still like that.
Weird. Super expensive, and nothing weighs an eighth isn't an eighth, and I don't understand.
It's a hate. Dude, you remember
Tenth.
people we know selling hates back in the day, dude? That shit's funny. And then Notso had a story about the origin of the hate being on hate Ashbury, people selling hates, which would be like a pinched eighth. But like I was saying, like that's not the only place people were doing that. You know, it was like somebody went and bought your eighth, and then they rolled a whole big doobie out of it, and then came and brought you the rest of it. You'd be like, "What?" Good old
Didn't you say
days.
in Ohio they sell tenths?
Yeah, they sell tenths, which is 2.83. It's essentially a hate, right, Maggie?
Yeah. The math makes sense well. And it's super expensive, and it's all like I can't remember the name of the nutrient or chemical that makes it all super hard and dense and crystally, but it's
the PGR.
PGRs.
Yeah,
PGR. That and the
Phospholode or something like that. Yeah.
The packaging is outstanding.
Well, they allow them to irradiate that stuff too if they think it might have mold and it's not going to pass the test. They'll take that densely compacted stuff that probably still has mold in the middle and run it through essentially like a giant microwave, right?
Kids these days say like that looks like homegrown, and it's like, well, yeah, it's homegrown, and it's just like so much better than what the dispensaries are serving sometimes. And
it's craft market, or it's a craft grow, like we can do that. We get to take care of our plants and really give them the love we want to, instead of somebody being like, do you transplant all those things yet? Are you doing it? So it's harder, I think, in big operations to be able to get that love that a craft grow has, and it's going to be noticeable in the final product.
Even if you want to do that, right, and give that love when you go legal, it can be quite difficult.
Yeah,
because
that's what I was thinking. The scale.
There's so many extra pressures, and one of the hard things, like I mentioned it before with investors, some people got really greedy and took way too much money for investors, and that's how they lost control of their own ship. But what most legal does is they want you to fund your business and grow it and develop it with legal money. And you probably don't have that, and then banks won't loan it to you because it's still not fully legal federally. So you end up needing to take on investors because those people have money in the bank, right? And and then all of a sudden you're trying to grow fireweed, and you've got all these people that want a return on their investment, and they were promised riches, and all of a sudden you're just kind of barely holding on, and they want more yield, they want more this, they want you to cut corners, they want a more return on their investment, you have a bunch of pressure on you, all that kind of stuff. And so even if people are good-hearted and trying their best,
Yeah. Yeah. I
You
mean,
know,
it shouldn't cost so much money to just be able to join the agricultural field for a plant. Like our buddy Grumpy, he moved to Colorado, and he thought he would be able to sell his hardtack candies. Remember those, Maggie? He used to make these hardtack candies way back when he lived around here, and they were like some of the best and some of the first little like candy things that we had. And they were cool because like in the summer they wouldn't like melt in the cooler or anything. That he had figured out how to get that oil in there without cracking the candy. But then when he moved to Colorado, it was too much fucking money. And somebody named Grumpy, of course, who doesn't want to deal with investors. That's not going to work out. So like he got shut out of the market, when he should be like totally in it. He had like a sugar that he would infuse and stuff.
Oh, I do that.
It's just like, you remember?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
do remember.
dude. Yeah, he's a little bit of like a nerd about his cooking stuff. It was fucking, I was really disappointed when he got there and he really still couldn't do what he wanted to do just because of all the money and the regulatory hoops, which is really greed. It's greed on the part of the state, and it's greed on the part of the people who have the money, and they just smell more money and they want in, and they don't know anything about our culture and our commitment to our plant and all of the time that we've already been here discovering these things on our own. Oh,
well,
lady.
what's even harder is that because people have an idea of cannabis as like this illegal thing that makes money hand over fist, they think there's going to be an enormous amount of profit in legal herb. And so when you spend a bunch of money trying to like just get your indoor, your whatever off the ground, and
Right.
then these people are after returns and those returns aren't coming in because of oversupply or because of pressure or because of whatever, that's what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying. Then you end up with a bunch of angry investors
Yeah.
who they don't
Well, a
care
lot.
about weed. They just want return
Yeah.
on their investment, and they thought they were
Right.
getting in on the ground floor of a big new, like, money churning, industry.
Right. That's the part where they don't get the plant, because the
Yeah.
plant has like requirements, and if any of those are not met, that can go downhill very quickly. You could lose a whole room because of heat, because of pests, because of, your roots not rooting fast enough for the next round to get started soon enough.
Or,
There's just so many things that could go wrong on a large
I
scale.
mean,
And it's like,
the example I used of like her being able to walk into Harborside and make a quick deal, and then later that day it's on the
right,
shelf and
like
being
that's
sold.
fucking great. Yeah.
A lot of times now, it's like, it might not hit the shelf till 2 or 2.5 or 3 months after it's been harvested. It might have to be
Right.
harvested, dried, trimmed, put
Sent
into
for
mylars or
testing. Well,
jars, sent for
yeah.
testing, sent to a
Mm-hmm.
distro. It might not hit the shelf for 6 or 7 or 8 weeks until after it's been sold, after it's been
Right.
harvested.
Yeah,
And then
they
if it
really
wasn't,
do have a giant disadvantage trying to but that's regulatory hurdles that
they
are
are, yeah.
both unnecessary and unjust, right? Like I get that you can't sell moldy weed, but that should not be so hard to get your game going in the first place, that people are feeling all that pressure like that. It should be like any other business. I think like you should be able to fail naturally and get a loan from a bank. Like people that are brewing beer, they don't have these fears, you know.
Banks won't. So here's the problem with that. Just, and then we'll talk to Maggie again. But most banks have a federal charter, right?
Right.
And cannabis is still Schedule One federally. And so
Yeah.
banks don't want to loan you money to do a business that is still not completely acceptable federally.
Yeah.
So that means that you have to go to rich people in order to get investment, and they want higher returns on their riskier investment. So it's almost like you're going to like a legal wealthy loan shark, and they want a
Yeah.
big piece of your business, or they want a big high interest rate, or they want a what have you. And then that puts a lot of pressure on a little business that's just trying to grow,
Yeah.
And so
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the point of all that is that a lot of good people in cannabis that are middle-aged and have a lot to offer are currently being shut out.
Yeah, that sounds like that's kind of what happened to, is that what you were saying, Maggie, once Prop 64 passed?
Um,
That you guys got shut out of being able to like sell to Harborside and stuff?
well, when it went legal, it just, gosh, it changed. Well, there were so many things that happened. Um, uh, the price just went lower and lower and lower, and it was harder to afford to grow. And Google moved in, and there were almost no houses to rent, and fires, and
Wow.
it just, yeah, it was like, the prices just kept dropping, and the rent in California is so expensive. So it went down to like what, $400 for outdoor,
Oh,
sometimes,
shit.
and just like Bentley's rolling up the highway 101 and stuff like that. Um, uh, um, yeah, but it was, but still, like, that was going to happen. But I still agree with making it legal there. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. I had something to say. Sorry, I got stoned. Okay. Um,
I actually rarely puff on these shows just because I'm like required to talk and keep my coherent thoughts together and be chatty and all that. And
Hmm.
so I try to like, yeah,
Well, not so. Did you have any? And we had talked earlier that you might have a question or two for our guest specific
I mean,
about
some of
Death
them have already
Star.
been answered. I mean,
Yeah.
especially the part where there was two Death Stars even right at the beginning, and they were both named the same thing. Because I
yeah.
can tell you, there is, even amongst my various friends who consider themselves to be in the know, there is endless debates on like, okay, so this is the real Death Star, right? And it's
Yeah.
like, but this also should be the real Death Star because of who I got it from. And I swear it's this super old timer in Ohio, but it doesn't
Yeah.
look quite the same or come out quite the same. But I swear to God, it's the right one. And then my buddy will be like, well, maybe you're doing something wrong growing it because it should come out like this. And then people believe that there was like, oh no, that's an S1 of the real one. And so the problem
Yeah.
is obviously, if you have two sisters that you both name Rachel, you
Right.
know, like it's the same name, then all the people that those sisters end up meeting and interacting with, they're going to think they know the real Rachel,
They
right?
might be
and so appa-
confused.
and
Yeah.
so apparently, I this is the first I heard today that there was two sisters
Yes.
100% that both got the exact same name and then spread around through Ohio. So all these people are convinced that they have the real Death Star from Ohio from the right people.
Yeah.
And my take from that was that they're not wrong. You know what I'm saying? Because they
Like
Yeah.
probably
from what
do
Maggie's
have,
saying. Yeah.
yeah, they probably do have the real Death Star from the real Ohio old schoolers.
Yeah.
But there was
Oh,
two.
yes, there were two, and they
There
grew
was
that one
two.
quite a bit, or did
And there's no
second.
way to really tell them apart unless you were there and you got to grow both of them side by side and you understood which ones were different as they
Just
spread out in circles.
Yeah.
These various
What's the
people got.
differences?
I would say they're like thinner. I mean, it's been a long time. Well, it's when I got back to the Midwest, I was told that an old person or a friend of a friend still had the original Death Star, and on the eight says the first seven were, we'll call it B, the Southern Ohio Death Star. They were that
Yeah.
one, or a slightly different colored hair. It smelled. It was just like off. It did look like it drifted. Like sparser buds, thinner,
Mm-hmm.
not,
Mm-hmm.
not as dense or
Not
in
as
dark.
loud or
Right.
yeah.
And then on the eighth try, I got the original back, as far as I'm concerned. And
Yeah. We still have that one.
Well, they're.
yeah,
I guess we should clarify. They're both original. There's just a better sister.
Well, yeah, it would be like
My,
Team Deathstar selection
Yeah.
versus the selection of the other person, huh?
But I just mean that like there
Yeah.
were two seeds. They were both females. They both got found, like, but they're obviously different. And
Yeah.
so my friends always told me they thought that like maybe the one they didn't like as much was like a bag seed of the original Death Star. Like it was
Mm.
Death Star-ish, but it wasn't it, and then there'd be these rumors. But that was the first I've heard that there was two seeds and that they both conveniently got named Death Star.
yep.
Um,
And then there was Bubble Star, and I believe there were two Bubble Stars, and that friend also had that one, but they were way more similar. I don't think that, and it didn't stick around much.
The
It
Bubble
was just kind of
Star.
a novel. Have one
Oh.
of the Bubble Star, like in a garden or
Mhm.
whatnot, maybe. But they were interesting.
oh, okay, so let me just clarify this real quick. Even when you got back to Ohio from your West Coast adventures, the
Mhm.
first 6 or 7 sacks, or the first, like, you kept
Ones.
experiencing D Star, but it ended up being like the not as good sister. And
Right.
it took you a minute to acquire and find, or, like to bump into someone that was still growing, the one that you preferred.
Yep. Absolutely.
Mhm.
And
And so I would say that, like, would it be fair to say that the amount of people that know that story that you just told and would be able to tell the difference is pretty small?
yes.
Like,
And
for instance, did any of the people giving it to you know that they were growing, in your opinion, the crappier version of Death Star?
no, they didn't
No,
know.
right? They had the right one, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh no, there's a better one. And they're like, what do you mean there's the better one? And
Yeah.
you're
And
like, oh,
back then
this is the
we talked about it. Like we didn't talk about growing at all. Like uh people were just, buying Death Star, and then
Right.
yeah, like yeah. But that's
because
just
that's a piece of lore out there. Like, Death Star is like spread, you know. I have a friend who does a
Mhm.
really good job with Death Star. He lives in southern Alaska,
nice.
right?
Wow.
Go.
It's out there. I have it, and I live in
Wow.
California, you know. And so there's all, like I
Nice.
said, there's always been this big debate over, like, does this person have a crappy S1 of it? Was this a bag seed of it? It doesn't seem like it's the real one, type of thing. But now there's two.
Yes.
And for
Yeah.
quite a few people, they think they have the real Death Star because it is Death Star and it is Ohio and it is the same thing. It's just the sister.
Yeah.
So that's pretty
Yeah,
wild.
and we have the same stuff going on around here too, where people will just, ever since legalization, and they're doing these little farmers markets, and they just rename something some popular name because they're scammers and they're trying to sell that stuff. So,
I mean, that's always
I
been the
think they're,
case.
yeah.
Like when I used to go to dead shows, it was like, you know, every dirty hippie had Humboldt County organic outdoor nugs, or white fluff L, or it was like, what's the selling point? What's going to get this person to, like, give me some loot? I've
Yeah.
got the
You're
stuff.
right. Yeah.
So there's
Yeah.
there's always that there's always been that marketing aspect to things,
Hmm. Right.
you know. Um, so okay, I have a question. How long did you keep, and how long did the East Coast sour diesel that your friend went to Vermont to get stick around your crew?
Well, I never gave it away.
Mm,
That
We're
was the
told
one you couldn't share, right? That was
right.
the one. So you
that's
shared I heard you shared the Death Star kind of far and wide because you had permission to do that because you
yeah,
made it. But like the one that you weren't allowed to share,
yeah.
did it survive, or because you weren't allowed to share it, did it eventually get lost?
It
And
got
then
lost.
was it? It got lost.
It got lost.
And
Man.
once you had the Death Star, did you prefer the Death Star to that East Coast sour diesel? Did you grow
Pers-
both of them at the same time? Did you
I
enjoy both of them differently? I'm just,
yeah.
random.
No, no. I love the East Coast Sour Diesel by far better than the Death Star. Back to flavors. I always thought it tasted like steak, like a skunky steak. Um,
That's that
there's
spicy, I think the garlic, maybe.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But East Coast Sour Diesels phenomenal. It's so gassy, and it's my favorite. It may still be out there. I talked to so many people yesterday that I hadn't spoke to in a while, and who knows what will pop up. But as far as growing, the sour diesel I always like to have on a track, and or have them like on the outside of back then Thowie's 1000 watts. They didn't want direct light all the time. They did really well on the outsides, or just on a track. I
Did they get
remember.
done kind of quicker? Diesel?
No. It was 70.
Take longer.
72.
Okay.
Yeah, something like
Right
that.
on.
Did you end up taking that cut with you to the West Coast? Did you ever grow it in Vegas or Sonoma or anything like that? Or had you lost it before you went west?
One of these days, hopefully you'll have a podcast with my partner, Team Deathstar. Because
Yeah, we should. Yeah.
I cannot freaking remember.
That's totally fine. That happens to us all the time, and it's not a big
Dude,
deal at all.
well, I mean,
I
yeah,
think
Maggie's. I was just thinking about how good you're doing, girl, because Maggie's had some brain surgeries and stuff. She's like, in the last couple of years, and
Well, I think she's doing great.
you're just doing
People have
freaking
different
great.
memories.
Yeah.
Sometimes Gabby and I have interviewed people that were like old timers that were deeply involved with like Northern Lights in the 80s, right? And you're
Yeah.
100% sure they were deeply involved, and they were immensely vague about like 90% of what you would want to know. And you
Yeah.
like know that they were there,
We
and
do
like
that
all that.
naturally.
So it's just like, I mean, like there was a point when I owned a pager where I had dozens of numbers memorized, and I knew when they came through on the pager who it was.
Yeah.
I can't remember any of those numbers now.
Mm.
Like they're gone because
Yeah.
my mind overwrote that tape with something more
Yep.
pertinent. Is really what it boils down to. Gabby and I. Sometimes I remember stuff where, like I said earlier when he was on here, it was me and Gabby doing it. And I have a much better memory of doing it with Gabby than Gabby has. So,
Yeah.
people's minds are different. People's memories are different. What you hold on to, what your mind might overwrite,
Yeah, I spoke to several people, the person that took it to Athens and Deathstar in Vegas, and a couple other people, and just asking questions and trying to like get their take on it, because everybody does. It's fun to tell like war stories and get their sides of things again. And
did you learn any good stories from anybody last night that you want to share?
Well, the old lady calling it tasting like death, I had forgot about, and now I can actually remember her standing there and saying that. Like, and I think
that's cool.
Yeah, it's just it's what else? All sorts
I
of
think
stuff.
you got distracted, but maybe just before we lose that thread, before she said that and it became Death Star, what did you call it? Or did it have a nickname then, or was it just your this is our Sensi Star by Sour?
Yeah, Sensi Star by East Coast Sour. Yeah, and we had Sour back, and Sensi Star, and bubblegum. We were at Coventry, and Jason King from the author of Canon Bible took pictures of our bubblegum and our friend Lance, he has passed away, of his dumpster, and it's in, I think, Canon Bible. I was trying to look it up. It might be number 3.
Yeah.
Took pictures
Yeah,
of
I
it
remember
there.
seeing them both in there.
Yeah, I was trying to find it to remember what he had to say, because speaking of myths, and I've heard the real story about the dumpster, I swear, but when I called on them to get the story, they were all mystical again, and so it's some of the the mystical stories of the Ludium and the G13 being government weed and this and that, and I looked up Deathstar. There's a million folktales out there that just were completely untrue. That's kind of funny.
Yeah, yeah. Same with the lemon.
I mean, I could see preferring to grow Death Star over sour diesel, because sour can be larfy, it can be difficult to trim, it can be fluffy, it can have issues like that. And like the Death Star is like, it's obviously denser, you know,
Mhm.
it's
Hmm.
got some more visible frost, it throws chunks, it's probably easier to grow and trim, you know.
Hmm.
That
I think it grows a lot like the Jedi, where it's just like taller and there's longer spaces, and yeah, it doesn't grow giant colas like the Sensi Star did, where it would be almost yellow inside because it didn't get light. It was so big.
Hmm.
But um, I love
the
these gifts.
guy
I would love.
I've been trying to get, like, I think Sensi Star came out in the mid 90s, 95, I think, maybe 96, something like that. And I've been trying to get Luke from Paradise Seeds to admit what the hell it is. And for some reason, he just won't.
Well,
Even though it's like, it's like he doesn't currently sell the original version, and it was like came out in the mid 90s, and you think it wouldn't be any skin off his back to be like it was this by this. But
huh.
there's a bunch of Amsterdam folks, like the AK-47 is another one where Simon still won't, they won't admit exactly what they used to make it.
I've
They just
always heard
stay
Afghani Kush,
they
the
just stay
AK.
intentionally vague. Like the dudes that made it, that own the seed company that released the seeds, like they're still around. They're
Yeah,
alive. But when you
Yeah.
ask them, they get very vague.
that's funny.
Decades
They're just
later,
not trying to give away all their secrets.
yeah, I mean, I
That
don't
I
know if
don't
you,
know. That's
I mean,
kind of
some
how
of it is,
everybody rolled.
it
But
is just to some degree, but
yeah. But
but
yeah,
I
there's
mean,
no reason for it now. Now that everybody can contact each other on the internet, we have all this more freedom with our information. Getting the real deal stories from the real deal people would be fucking great.
okay. So I have a
I
random.
think
I
it'd
have
be
a
good to ask her partner to get on you guys' get us on
yeah.
a big Ohio group story or something.
I have a super random question and a thought. Then, are
Okay.
you saying, Maggie, that you think that both sisters of Death Star exist still?
Yes, absolutely,
Like they're both still alive?
100%.
It would be really interesting to me if they're both still alive and they both have the same parents, to reverse one onto the other.
Hmm.
Because you see what I'm saying? Then you have like it's not an outcross and it's not an S1.
Hold on 1 second, I messed it up.
It's
Can you
two
repeat
feet.
that?
I just meant that like it would be really neat to, because they're both verified sisters from the same cross, same hybrid, same breeding. It would be neat to be able to reverse one of them onto the other and see what comes out of
To
the
breed
seeds
them
of
back
that.
together.
Yeah, yeah. To
Yeah.
turn one, to
I think
spray
we
one
need
and revert.
somebody to just grow a side by side, like in the
That
same
would be
tank
cool
or
too. And
something, and then
see,
we're like, cool, these are Ohio
Love
A
to
and
have it,
B.
bro.
because there's probably, like, from what it sounds like, there's probably half a dozen people at most, maybe even less, that could know the difference. Because I've
Right.
never heard that before today, that there was two sisters and they were both named Death Star, and
Yeah, there's
one was
definitely at least a half a dozen of us, at least. No, yeah, something like that. Under a dozen, maybe, something like that.
not many.
Yeah, but they're yeah,
Because my
yeah.
my buddy that is still lives in Ohio and has had the Death Star for a long time, he always thought that there was ones out there, but they were like, they must be like bag seed or something off the. He never knew that there was two to start,
Huh.
but he knew that there was a
Yeah.
couple different cuts floating around Ohio, and he liked one way better than the other. You know,
Right. Yeah.
and both were named Death Star.
Yeah.
But he had never heard that story, so he just assumed that one of them must be like bag seed or a cross or something. Anyway, that was really cool info, because that clears a lot. That's a piece.
Mhm.
That's a puzzle piece.
Yeah, for sure.
Got a shout out from our friend Miss Wendy. Said she's enjoying the shit out of this podcast and thinking about Grumpy and just laughing her ass off over there. And yeah, me too. It's been like real cool to just think about everybody and think about those days when it was like way harder to be trying to be quiet with loud weed around Ohio, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Ohio's interesting, like I said, because there's a ton of people there. It's a really big populous state, and it's like kind of the bridge between the East Coast and the Midwest, to a large degree.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of hippies there. There's a lot of fish kids. There's a lot of deadheads. There's a lot of pot
Yeah.
smokers in general, like you and I talked about before. There's like a Appalachia sort of Mendo-like region
Yeah.
of
We
it.
have like
We've got our Humboldt area down here.
That's
Yeah.
hilly and remote, and then there's cities and stuff, and there's I mean,
the water south.
there's just a lot of overlap.
And we have Legend Valley. There's some great like hippie festivals out there.
Yeah, we used to have
always
our
to the valley.
hookah bills out there back in the day. Fucking fun. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, that's where a lot of us
personally,
gathered, and we were always cool to smoke weed there. Nobody was going to hassle us.
I still grow Death Star, and I enjoy it quite a bit. I think it's held up the test of time.
Yeah.
You know, I think if you get a really nice sack of Death Star, it's as good. It's one of those things that like it's as good as not everything back then probably would hold up. It holds up.
Yes.
It holds up really well. Like people get it and they're stoked. It's good still.
It's my favorite nightcap, because I got
Really?
my lemon is more like the day weed, and the Death Star is more of a nighttime weed. But I like a good diesel too. There was a guy out west actually. He's got a super. What do you have? It was like a super some sort of super diesel or something. Now I've got to remember it. But it's EQ Genetics.
I mean,
He had a
diesel was
really
one of those
nice.
things
It's a
that
super sour. That's what it was. Super
yeah,
sour diesel.
there was like
And
a
I thought
10-year
it
period.
reminded me of Death Star a lot, or of that old
Really?
diesel that you guys used to have, girl. That super sour one the kid has out here. What do you
So
remember about the diesels? Because people talk about like a sour diesel or the New York diesel or a Midwest diesel sometimes. Do you remember a bunch of different ones back in the day?
No, not really. Just the New York and the East Coast. The East Coast is so gas, and a lighter color. I haven't had the New York for so long, but it was more like skunky, maybe. I guess I would call it.
Red hair.
Yeah.
You got any other fun old stories from friends you talked to?
Oh. Not that I can recall. Just I mean the person that has the people that are still growing the bee, some of them are calling it root leaf stew now. Because it's so confusing of the Death Star. So now I guess there's a third name for the Death Star.
Oh wow, root leaf stew.
Yes, we'll see how far that goes.
Wow.
You can go into one of the stores in Columbus here now and buy there's a Team Deathstar wall with like the logo up, eats from there.
Yeah, that's
a lot
cool.
Of them,
like indoor gardens.
yeah.
Up
and
there,
then there's another selling Deathstar seeds, but I don't think they're crossing it. I can't remember what the story is. I don't know how they have Deathstar seeds because it was clone. You have to back cross it.
Right.
With the
that's like the lemon. It's clone only. No.
Yeah. I haven't had anybody show me what those seeds come out like yet.
Yeah.
Well,
lady, I don't want to keep you all day. I just want to let you know whenever you're tired or you feel like you need to get going, let me know. I've got
anything else interesting? Like I said, if you guys have any questions.
What was it like trying to make your way all the way out to Vegas?
To Vegas?
Yeah. You said something about a snowstorm. You guys got stuck in a snowstorm with the...
Well, I went second. My partner went first, and I think the trip through Vegas to California was more interesting because of the fruit stand that you have to pass through. We had
I see. Like it was like a place where you had to be inspected.
California has, it depends on how serious it is. California has agricultural inspection.
Yeah.
Where
Yeah,
they
I know.
basically ask you, you know, because California has like a multi-billion-dollar food industry, and they are pretty intent on keeping certain pests, if they can, out of the state. You know, and so they want to know, did you buy oranges from this place? Did you buy any of this? Have you bought any fruits or vegetables from different states? You know, that there might be a bug hiding on your apple or something like that, you know, and so you'd have to pull in, and you'd have a guy come up to your thing and ask you questions, and it could either be as simple as one or two questions and you go on your way, or, you know, you're having a longer conversation and they're
what's
poking
in the
around
cooler. Yeah.
Exactly. So you know.
So wardrobe boxes with you know, like 14 or 15 year date plants with click lights, and then the 4-wheeler in the very back. And stopped at the exit before and started the 4-wheeler and closed back down the door of the U-Haul. And and so when they stand and opened the door and looked around, and it just smelled like gasoline. I thought that was pretty good planned out thing.
That was pretty good planning. So you kept them with the light all the way out there.
Yeah, you know, it's not
really. Well, yeah, I mean, you guys were the portable pocket light people. The blinky. Yeah.
Like when we were pretty particular.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet, dude. Because I know a lot of people, if they were like moving cuts across the country, they wouldn't have like kept them in dirt and all well lit and shit. They would have just had like some in a cooler with a top on them or something. So that's a pretty ingenious thing, you know, getting through there with the wardrobe with lights and stuff. And then dude. Yeah, everybody had to be clever, you know. That's pretty damn clever.
Back. Nope, he shook his head. He's not back.
Poor Gabby. He hadn't been feeling well. We all are sending Gabby love and good vibes. And Miss Maggie May too. So it's been so nice to see you today and talk to you about this stuff.
Yes. It was so this is great.
I'm literally gonna get off this call, and within 10 minutes I'm gonna call a couple of buddies, because the debate on S1s or fake D-Star or several D-Stars or one that was passed around that wasn't real, that was just a big piece. It's a big piece, you know. So
it's funny that you only got 4 seeds and you were like intentionally trying to pollinate stuff, you know, because I don't know, I just remember how many seeds we had when we had the lemon, you know, and Grumpy had kept 2 or 3 of them of the varieties at the time, and it's just funny to me. So it's because it's just like the fact that they were both good and there were only 2 seeds is pretty freaking lucky, is what I'm thinking, you know. So
sometimes you go through hundreds of seeds and you don't find anything good. Sometimes you find something really nice in 1 or 2 seeds. Seeds are like a lottery ticket, you know. Sometimes, or like a chocolate. Sometimes you buy the chocolate bar and you get the golden ticket. You know, it's just fate
you guys
smiles
really
on you.
lucked out like that, you know.
It like literally was a phenomenon. Just like the whole entire the way everything turned out with the Team Deathstar and the marketing and giving it away so it was popular and it spread out like that. Just being recognized so awesome in Vegas when nobody had seen it before. It's so cool.
Yeah,
that's actually a point I thought about making earlier, but you were in the middle of a story, and so I kept quiet. But there's a weird thing about hoarding cannabis where it's like, if stuff is going to get popular, it kind of has to leak out a bit because people have to be able to grow it to like it. People have to be able to have flower to give to their friends to like it. Like if
Right.
4 people have it and it never leaks anywhere, well then it probably is just going to be like a legend or a name because no one's got to try it. You know, so in
Absolutely.
order for things to get
Mhm.
popular and stay alive, they almost have to percolate around a bit, you know.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
And you had a really catchy name. I mean, Death
Yeah.
Star is like, you know, Star Wars trivia, you know, especially for
Mhm.
people our age. It was the biggest blockbuster, you know, what have you. And
Yeah.
Death Star rolls off the tongue. It ties into the hybrid itself. It's, you know,
Mhm.
Team Death Star. You know, it has the whole thing. It leads itself to really cool, probably glass pieces or really cool T-shirts or,
Mhm.
you know, what have you. So, um, yeah.
Remember when Tedro was making those jars that had all the weed names on the side of them?
I do.
I've
Yeah.
still got my gum jar and a lemon G jar somewhere. Those
Nice.
things were
You have the
cool.
clothing business card on the magnet on your fridge.
Oh yeah, I still had your magnet from
Yeah.
the ground score clothing, dude. That's an old ass magnet. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. It's been a long road, but we've had a lot of clever friends along the way, and it's been pretty cool. Riding the
Yeah.
coattails of the phenomenon for what it was when we could do it, and I'm grateful for all the music and the fun and all the good weed that we've had together and we've shared with the rest of the world, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Totally.
now it's like all countrywide and international, and it's really to me it's kind of cool just to look forward to what's next with cannabis. I know Ohio's going backwards right now with our laws. I hope that everybody that's in Ohio is registering to vote and getting ready to vote these assholes out of office that voted against the will of the people. Almost all of our representatives are up for election this year. So, you know, if you want to be part of Ohio going in a good direction, I think that it's really important right now for us to encourage the rest of the people we know to get out there and vote and to talk to their neighbors because our state is really gerrymandered the way that they've cut our districts up. So it makes it even harder for us to get our democracy back. And if we don't do it pretty soon, it's going to be next to impossible. You've got to be pretty comfortable and confident in your job to vote against all of your constituents. You know, there were over 40 of us that went repeatedly and testified against the exact changes that they're implementing in Ohio right now. And they've shut down thousands of small businesses. Last stats I looked at, it was 6,000 jobs are being affected by the new Senate Bill 56. Um, so
It's a long
this is
fight.
our hour, you know.
California
What we,
has more shuttered licenses than they have active ones.
yeah,
And obviously, all those people that started with to go through the process of getting a license had intentions of being successful or trying to throw their cents in. And the transition from illegal to legal or illegal to medical to legal has a lot of pitfalls, you know.
yeah.
And like you said, it's still a long fight to get what you
Well,
want.
I mean, right now they're doing things like criminalizing going to Michigan and buying weed and bringing it back here, criminalizing having your weed not in your trunk, or having weed that is from anywhere except a dispensary or your personal home grow. And if you have any of that in your car within reach, first time offense, mandatory 3 days jail. Anybody can look this up at ohio.gov, put in SB 56 and look at the legislative service analysis to really gain insight into what's changed in this law versus the one that we voted on. So I just wanted to throw that out there because that's what I know about the world today. I just went to the first of what should be several good conversations from the cannabis social equity movement.
Hmm.
Our friend had put on a social equity forum in Columbus. because Senate Bill 56 took away what was supposed to be equity for small businesses, startups, people that want to have craft grows, be able to compete in Ohio. But with the legislator that we have right now, that's a pipe dream. So we got to do some changing at our state level before we're going to be able to be on track and get our tax dollars that we voted on back where we wanted them to be. So,
Indeed.
Mhm.
Gabby, I don't know, for anybody that's listening, Gabby asked me to do a little mini update, and I kind of spaced it. But
Okay.
my as I mentioned before, Gabby mentioned before, my daughter had surgery earlier this week. It was pretty long and complicated. It was like 7 hours long, so it was one of the longer afternoons of my adult life, waiting to make sure
Wow.
everything went just exactly perfect. Things went pretty well. But she's on a host of various medicines. I got to go give her one here in just a minute. So, but she's doing good. She's recovering. Things are good at
Mhm.
the at
That's
the
good
Notso
news.
household. It's been a big
Yay.
week of. There's like 4 different meds, and it's like 3 hours. Give her this one. Next 3 hours, give her that one. Twice a day, give her these. Then do this. Then don't let her do this. And as she's gotten happier and healthier from the surgery, she's gotten feistier about the like, do I have to do all this stuff, type of thing.
Right.
But
Yeah. Well, that means
which
she's feeling a little better,
yeah,
huh?
that's a good sign.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
argumentative is
is.
fine because
Yeah.
she's
I
battling
know
the other.
people had been asking about her, Gabby was saying, or they've been asking
Yeah,
about you and your family. So it's nice to
I mean,
know
it's
that
not.
she's doing good.
She might have to have another surgery or two. Like, a bunch of her hearing was taken out by this growth that she had, and we have to wait and see if it recovers. We have to wait and see if it grows
Mm,
back. She might have to have a second surgery to remove it if it comes back. She might have to have another surgery to put in stuff to help her recover from her hearing.
mm,
But what we were going for, which was like removal and not messing her up, it seems like that worked. And so it's just been like kind of a heavy week.
yeah,
Of recovery and this and that and all that,
sure.
and shoving medicine down her throat every 3 hours, and
Wow.
and all that different stuff. But it did go
Trying to
well.
keep a teenager down.
Yeah, the first couple days were easy because she was super out of it, and then as she got
Right.
started to feel better, she got feistier,
Right.
which is fine. But yeah, she's got a few more days of antibiotics and a few more days of like me shoving a bunch of stuff down her, and then we'll be back a little bit to like, less less
Less
hands-on
mandated
recovery.
rest. Yeah.
Yeah, less hands-on
Yeah.
recovery. She's like, and all that, and so um it was, I almost forgot. I've been so in my own world with that, I almost forgot like today was what we were doing it, because normally we do it on
Right.
Wednesday,
Yeah.
and I
I really
spaced it.
appreciate everybody coming on a Tuesday and helping make those
No, it's all
accommodations for
good. I just,
me.
like I said, I've been in my
So,
own little world, and then I was all, oh man, it is tomorrow. So, but
yeah.
it's all good. She's recovering. I got to go give her some meds. Gabby
Mm-hmm.
exists. He's also hurting,
Yeah. Yeah,
and
Gabby, hopefully he's getting some recovery time in here.
we'll
And
see. But
then, yeah.
it was super nice to meet you, Maggie, and I love. There was some tidbits in there, like I said, that I had never gotten before, and I'm super pumped because the puzzle looks different now. You know,
Yeah.
in my
Mm-hmm.
opinion. And everybody that like did their little breedings and kept things alive and spread things in their little circles, and all that, like, everybody has their own little story of contributions toward this larger tapestry of things,
Mm-hmm.
and so um really appreciate like all the different stuff you did. And if you wanted to ever bring your partner in I was going to say in crime on, but like, if you ever wanted to bring the other side of Team Death Star on, because everybody has different memories of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
um
Yeah, he resides in Vegas. I think Q has been in touch with him. And I
Yeah,
think
I
he has
am. Mm-hmm.
he might have a podcast he has to do first or something, but I think he's interested in doing one with you as well, for sure.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Cool.
um
Yeah, we'll get him on with you and Gabby. Yeah.
I'm going to go give my daughter some medicine.
All right.
Yeah, Notso, have a great
That's my
afternoon. Yeah,
schedule.
I'm
But and
traveling
you,
tomorrow, so
we're gonna Saraquoia is going on a little trip,
yeah.
and all that. But
Yeah, just a small one.
when she comes back, we're gonna have a very good friend of mine come on the show, who's also a woman of weed, but it's someone that I've worked with on various projects over the years and has a ton of funny stories and is super chatty. So I'm super excited about bringing her on after Saraquoia gets back
Yeah,
from her worldwide adventures. I
yeah.
hope Gabby feels
Oh,
better,
yeah.
and yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah, Miss Maggie, do you have anything else you'd like to add? And thank you, Notso. We're so happy to have you join us today and
Facebook.
talk about
Yeah.
Ohio. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
All right, lady.
well, I thank you all for listening. Love everybody
Yeah,
very much.
yeah,
Everybody have a
yeah. Remember,
lovely.
don't disconnect until
I won't.
it says upload, Miss
Okay.
Maggie also.
Mm.
So yeah, thank you everyone for coming in today. And you are definitely a woman of weed. And wow for telling your story. Thank you so much, Maggie. It's good seeing you.
You too.
Bye, Maggie.
Bye.
Yeah.
Okay.